Our next speaker is Krista Umbjarv, originally from Estonia, but currently living in Paris, in France. Krista's talk has the title, No Other Path. Krista has been interested in arts, spirituality, religions, and meditation since early age. She joined the Theosophical Society in 2005. She works for the edition Adyar that publishes theosophical books in French. She participates actively in the publishing of Le Lotus Bleu, monthly TS France magazines. Since 2012, she has been in the executive committee of the European Federation of the Theosophical Society and currently serves as its secretary. She is also secretary of the TS in France and elected to the council of the ITC in Naarden. Krista?
Thank you. I think everything that there is to say has been said already. So that's I don't know whether it's advantage or disadvantage to speak almost in the end of the Congress. This morning, I still had the feeling that I had something different to bring in as an aspect, but Kim Dew took all hope from this aspect. So I just try to stress a few points maybe. So instead of maybe making it as a lecture, as a talk, I would really think that it would be good to have it rather as a reflection, so that we have covered so much and we know so much, and it is maybe not necessary to add to that. So just to think along and to see whether it is relevant and whether it is important to us. So the title of this talk is There is No Other Path. Basically, it is a question about what we want in life, like what we really want in life. When we live the way we live, we have all these different wishes and wants and desires, and mostly and usually they are quite contradictory, which means that we have all these different fragments in us, and we try to, in a way, juggle them and bring them together. We might want to be more centered and calm, but then at the same time, and want to meditate for that, but at the same time we want to maybe sleep and we don't want to get up in the morning to meditate. So we might want to have harmonious relationships, but at the same time we bring disharmony in our relationships when we don't know better. We might want to be healthy, but at the same time we don't do any exercise and we don't maybe eat so healthily. So there are all these different things. We want all these different things, and they pull us in different directions. And I say we because not only we here, but we as human beings, because fundamentally the mind functions in the same way. We have variations, but fundamentally the mind functions in the same way. Which is why also when we have seen something in ourselves, we are able to see it in the others. We are able to understand it because these certain parts of our own nature has received some light on them, and so we can see it in the others. as we have all these different wishes and wants in our lives, our life also flows in different directions, which means that having one direction or having one, in a way, ideal or paradigm, again, we are pulled in different directions. And often we can see different things coming. And actually, I think often we do see different things coming. We can see these, even like a truck running towards us, and we know that it's going to hit us. But instead of just like stepping away or stepping aside or turn around, we often we start to speed up to meet it halfway. So that this lot of karma or this load of karma will just hit us in a way. So why is it that although we know that some things are not good to us, we know that we might want to do something differently, then why is it that we don't do it? Why is it that still like fundamental change has not taken place in us? I mean, certainly in years we have improved, that's for sure. But, or I'm talking about myself, I don't know, maybe we have very evolved people here, and as I'm not so evolved, I'm unable to know. So why is it that, that in a way we are still the same? So again, I think we come back to the question, what do we want in our life? What do we fundamentally want in our life? Because these things that hit us, how is it that they are in a way stronger what we would like to or what we would wish? In a way they are stronger because we have created them, we have put energy behind it, and it is our own karma that comes back to us in a way. But I think at the same time, we can see that it is, generally speaking, it is that we have not defined so well, or we do not see so clearly towards what we are moving. Meaning that our attention is constantly being brought back to different events, to different experiences, to different wishes. And this paradigm or this wish, I would say to a spiritual direction, is not so well defined. A few weeks ago, I met Pablo Sender in Estonia, and he gave a lecture, and he said something that made me think a lot. I had been thinking about the same thing, but he worded it in a different way. He said that to be able to love something, we have to know it. Meaning we cannot know anything that, if we do not know something, we are unable to love it. So hence, to have this spiritual direction or this spiritual goal in our life, in a way we have to love it, or we have to fall in love with it. And if we are not there yet, then we should cultivate it. Ika Taimni says that, and generally in the yoga tradition, there is this understanding that there are two ways, in a way. One is, one way to the divine is through understanding, through will. And the other way to the divine is through self-renunciation and through love. I think there is no one way, we do both. But I think we pay maybe less attention to the love aspect and to the cultivation aspect. in the Buddhist tradition, there is this idea that one is only on the spiritual path when one has renounced. One has renounced, and it is only then the actual path starts. So if the steps are often brought out as renunciation, compassion, love, and wisdom, then we very much want love and wisdom. But renunciation, when the word renunciation is mentioned, you can almost feel the vibration in the astral body of people in a way that this is something that we don't want. And this is something that we don't want because we feel that we lose something. When we talk about love, compassion, or wisdom, we feel like we gain something or we get something additional. But with renunciation, we feel like something is being taken away from us. And obviously, when something is being taken away from us, it is painful. So we prefer to practice these other things, and we don't pay so much attention to the renunciation aspect. But I think mostly why it is so difficult to people is that we approach it from the wrong end, in the sense that we in a way violently try to pull ourselves away from something instead of seeing that there is something else towards which we could go, so that what we do not wish would fall away naturally. I think it was in the Mahatma letters that it was said that the true path is like a jealous mistress, or was it somewhere else? Mean that it does not allow another next to it. Meaning that it demands our constant and complete attention. And when we are on the spiritual path, and I would say that we are on the spiritual path, then we might say that we are not doing so bad. Like we are doing what we are doing, and that we are not doing so bad. So that's already a good thing. But the question is really whether we can do better. Whether we can do better, whether we can be in a way more energy and time sufficient in what we try to do. Not in the sense that we would we would have this constant dissatisfaction of what we are and what we do, but fundamentally seeing that what we do now, it's good for now, but it can be improved. So instead of just doing something on the spiritual path, at least for myself, I have found it extremely useful to actually think what the approach to the spiritual path should be or could be, so that when I apply it, it would actually be efficient. Because otherwise we redo the same things again and again. We hit our head against the wall and then we try again. And obviously we will learn by experience, but if we could learn by observation or by reasoning, that would be even better. So I think fundamentally for us, it would be really useful to come back to this idea of what I really want in life. We can have it defined for us, but it will become stronger and stronger. And I think it will take years, but the question is whether we are willing to take years, because sometimes there is this idea that we have to do this or that practice, or we have to meditate, or we have to study. but actually look at our life and look at our approach to spirituality and ask ourselves, what do we really want? And when we have really defined what we want, this paradigm, it will start to define us and our actions. Kim, you also mentioned this morning that, and which is also no meaning, if you want to know what you are now, look at what, if you want to know what you were in your past, look at how you are now. And if you want to know what you will be in the future, look at how you are now. Yeah, what you're doing now. So often we have this quite narrow view, at least I see myself, that the fact that the mind is so fragmented and it goes to different directions makes it also concentrate on small details. And when we concentrate on small details of our life, whether they are different experiences or whether they are different understandings or whatever, we kind of like get stuck into them and our life becomes much smaller. So I think we should consciously try to widen it in the sense that if I look at myself now and I ask what I would like to be in the future, or if I look at myself now and I see that what I have done, whether I would like to go through the same thing again, then my answer would be no. So I'm trying to figure out a good way to improve here so that next time when I will be reborn, after the long childhood, I would not have to start again with the same thing. So I have really spent a long time trying to figure out what it is that I should develop here so that next time it would be more simple. So that next time I would not face the same things. So that next time it would be more fast, all the spiritual things that come. So that I would already have the contact earlier, so that I would have the knowledge and I would not repeat the same experiences. So for me, in a way, it has been the understanding that what should be developed here is this sense of effort, because we will not carry over the knowledge as such. Nothing of that will stay. We will maybe carry over some tendency to study, some tendency to ponder, but the knowledge as such, it will not be carried over. What will be carried over are our tendencies, the way how our character is built, although it will be remodeled. So I think that a useful thing to have in the future is the capacity to make effort. Make effort in the sense that if we have difficulties or if we are in trouble or whatever, that we have this sense of effort in us, that we can always go forward. In whichever conditions we will be reborn, we will have this sense of this tendency to make effort in our life to go forward. And also to get up when we fall. I think when we see that somebody has certain characters and so on, and we say that this person is such, or it is, they are what they are because this is what they have been. When I was younger, still younger, still young, but when I was really younger, I think when I was 19, I spoke with a person who at the time I considered as my mentor. And I asked him, so he traveled a lot all over the world and he worked a lot different projects and so on. And I asked him, first I asked to see him, and then he thought that I'm going to ask a philosophical question or something like that. But then I asked him how he's able to work so much. How he's able to constantly work for the Dharma, constantly do things. And his answer was, because for me that seemed like something, in a way, almost not possible. He was just working and putting effort and constantly doing one thing after another. This was his whole life. And he said that resilience comes from practice. We are not born, the resilience as such does not come out of nothing. If we are born resilient, it means that we have developed resilience. And resilience as such can be developed here also. But it can only be developed through practice, not through violence, but through practice little by little. Because if we think that it's not something that is achievable, then we will never try. If something seems too much for us, we will not make a try. And if we do not make a try, it will never happen. So we start to put effort, and little by little, we will get there. I think I don't need that one. So I think when we look at ourselves, fundamentally, and we see that something could be improved, I think the question is how we relate to all that. How do we relate to all that? How do we see all this? Because fundamentally, if we do not understand what is the process through which all these habits that we have and different emotions that we have and the thoughts that we have, if we do not understand how they come about, we will never be able to do something about them. We might want to, as we have been speaking already about it, we might want to push them under a carpet. We might want to control them with some violence, with resistance. But it will not work. In the long run, it will not work. When we see that what we are and what we think and what we feel is a result of something that has been there in the past, we will learn to see that whatever we face in ourselves is no longer like a solid rock. It is not a solid rock that will hit us in our face, but it is something that is impermanent, that has been created by different causes, that has certain energy behind them. But by the fact of being impermanent and by the fact of having come about through causes that have been there, it means that we will see them as something that is workable, completely workable. And whatever we see, we know that it can be overcome. Fundamentally, everything that we see can be overcome. Maybe not here in this life, but fundamentally, everything that we have, everything that we are, can be changed. And when we see that, it will give us, I would say, this fundamental courage and this fundamental power to deal with those things. Because as long as they say something that is permanent, something that is solid, something that is there from their own end, as long as this view is still there, we will constantly be afraid. We will constantly be afraid what is there in us. And we will constantly live in this conflict between what is actually there and what is our ideal of, or our wish of what we would like to be. So yes, so what do we want in life? What do we want to do with our life? If we can define it in whatever way we want, but it is important that it would be clearly defined for us. And when it is clearly defined for us, that we would also go in that direction. Because as long as we do not do it, we will always be fragmented and we will always live in a conflict. So to come back to the theme of the talk, there is no other path. I think there is no other path. So the sooner we realize it, the sooner we will get there, because we will have to get there anyway. Sometimes I think we forget about it, or we don't remember it. But if we have this, if through, in a way, still understanding through reasoning and through observing life, we see that we will get there. Because I think often the problem is that people fundamentally, they don't think that they can change. And if they don't think that they can change, there is no way that they will change. So when we know that we will get there, why should we wait? Why should we still wait? Why should we hang on the side of the road and get distracted by something? So I think this is true healing in a way. This is the only way to heal our conflicts, and this is the only way to deal with our fragmentation. That when we arrive to this understanding that there is no other way, even if there are difficulties and even if there are problems and so on, there is no longer this inner fragmentation, because we are going in the right direction. And it does not mean that we might not have to recalibrate it in the future, but that we are basically going to the right direction. So I hope we could heal fast. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. From my, I believe on behalf of every one of us, I can truly just thank you for your very profound and inspirational talk. And as you can see, she's already back behind her table working. So you are not just inspiring us with your talk, you also inspire us with your action.
She walks the talk.
Yes, definitely. So words cannot describe the gratitude. Thank you, Krista. And